Welcome to Wrapped Up Wednesday.
What is going on, YT? It is your boy Diego, but you can call me Chancho or Chanch, whatever floats your boat. And I'm here as always with my co-host Ashley. Say hi to the people.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to Wrapped Up. This is now episode 4 of our true crime series. And let me tell you something, guys. The story that we have for you today is insane. It's going to have you running to your local Lowe's or Home Depot to buy plywood and board up your entire house because it's gonna scar you. And this is a story of the murder of Kimberly Cates. If you're new to the channel, then welcome to the only show on the internet where the title, Wrapped Up, not only describes the cases that we talk about, but it also describes your co-host because as you can see, we are wrapped up in our blankets and we invite you guys to do the same. And we invite you guys to subscribe if you're new because we have a new story for you every single Wednesday.
Also on Wrapped Up Wednesdays, we snack and we change it up every week to keep it fresh. Not only do we like Skinny Pop popcorn and Coke Zero, but we also like apple pie and coffee, classic staple in everyone's household. We encourage you guys to also bring your favorite snacks and your favorite blankie and join us on today's episode.
I also want to thank every one of you guys for showing support to the channel. We didn't know how this series was going to turn out at first, but we're having fun with it so far and we're loving it. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't seen the other episodes, feel free to check those out. And Ashley, do you want to take it away with the disclaimer?
Of course. Warning. The following contains description of crime scenes and other materials that some may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Thank you. Now, without wasting any more of you guys' time, let's get straight into today's story because it is crazy one. Mm-hmm. It is crazy one. It is a crazy one. Chapter 1, The Calm Before the Storm. So the year is 2004 and Kimberly Cates and her whole family moved over to Mount Vernon, New Hampshire due to the low crime rate.
What?
So Kimberly at this time, she's 42 years old and she's married to her husband named David, and together they have a daughter and her name is Jamie. Now, in order to support her family, both David and Kimberly were working. And Kimberly worked as a nurse at several New England hospitals.
So we're not in Canada.
No, not this time. This is the first time we're sticking out of Canada.
Nice.
So we're not totally sure what David did for work, but we do know that he was away a lot for business. Mm-hmm. And because of this, Kimberly and her daughter Jamie formed a really close mother and daughter relationship. Jamie Cates, 11, was your typical 6th grader who had a curiosity for the world. And Jamie had a black belt in karate that she was really proud of.
That's really cool.
I know, right? And so from what has been reported, it says that the Cates lived on a dirt road that ran through a wooded area. So imagining this, the house was kind of like isolated from the rest of the neighborhood and they were surrounded in like a lot of woods. And
yeah, like picture it, if y'all seen Twilight, Bella Swan's house is like near a lot of forests. It's like that.
And if you haven't seen Twilight, like me, then
First
you don't really
yes,
know
you
it.
have.
I got through like half of it, but a lot of it was just grunting. There's no words to that movie. They're just grunting the entire time. They're like,
moving along. It was a masterpiece, but moving along.
So at Mount Vernon, there was a group of teenage misfits that called themselves the Disciples of Destruction, which if you're going to name your group something, that's not even like a cool name, like if you're trying to be all gangster. And this consisted of Steven Spader, 17, Christopher Gribble, 20, Quinn Glover, 17, and William Marks, 18. These are like the least intimidating names for like gangsters or whatever.
It's gonna be a no for me.
Quinn, come on, man. So just to give you guys some insight into this group, the reports state that they admired the Manson family. Who's the Manson family?
Charles Manson.
I don't know who that is.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. I don't know who that is. Is he a murderer?
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Wait, for real?
No, I actually don't know who that
Charles
is.
Manson? Side note, he was a guy who was like a cult leader and he somehow was involved with the Beatles and he had several.
The Beatles?
Yeah. Like he even like convinced one of the band members to like stay with him. He's like, hey, like let me get my posse and stay at your house. And he's like, sure, why not? Mm-hmm. And they made music together. But anyways, they basically did a bunch of killings in California and they even killed Sharon Tate. Moving on
to the story. I don't know who Sharon Tate is either. So, and they also admired the Zodiac Killer. And on top of that, they also followed the rap group Insane Clown Posse.
First of all, I only know about this band.
I also don't know who that
or
is.
rap group because they had a feud with Eminem in the early 2000s. In fact, Diego didn't even know who they were until I had to educate him. They're not that great, but that's just my opinion.
And so, Steven's right-hand man was Christopher, and he thought about joining the Marines before becoming a part of the Disciples of Destruction. Christopher, you should have joined the Marines instead. So Steven thought it would be a brilliant idea if the 4 boys committed a random killing as part not fart. So Steven thought it would be a brilliant idea if all 4 boys committed a random killing as part of an initiation to his gang. And essentially their idea was, let's shed some innocent blood so that we can show our commitment, our brotherhood to each other.
That's so lame.
So all 4 boys decided they were going to complete what they called a thrill kill. Now I know what you're thinking. What's a thrill kill? Well, it's in the words themselves. A thrill kill is a premeditated or random murder that it's motivated by excitement. And according to ABC News, thrill killers are mostly male and teenagers. So a week prior to committing this gruesome murder and assault, Steven and Christopher were doing some recon, and they decided that they would do a home invasion on the Cates' home, aka they just randomly chose this family.
Yeah.
Only because they figured, hey, it's in a secluded and wooded area. It's kind of separated from the rest of the neighborhood, so it should be an easy
right. And
target.
It's like on a dirt road too.
Exactly.
Like you have to drive into the house.
Yeah, you have to like drive through the whole dirt road. So it's like a hidden area, and they thought this would be perfect. But they just randomly chose them just because of this. Talk about a bad...
Yeah, talk about a bad location for a house. You were probably thinking like, wow, we get privacy, but then in other people's minds, it's like, perfect house.
So according to a blog called Thrill Kill, The Murder of Kimberly Cates, written by Michael Washburn, Steven says, "We're about to do the most evil thing that this town has ever seen."
OMG.
And that takes us straight into chapter 2.
Chapter 2, Random Murder. Crazy. On October 4th, 2009, Kimberly and Jamie were asleep together in Kimberly's room. Now remember, David traveled a lot for business, so that meant that he wasn't home a lot of the time. So on this specific night, David was away on business, which meant that Kimberly and Jamie were by themselves. Now, you're probably wondering, did the killers know this information? They did not, because again, this was just a random attack. They chose a random night, and it just so happened that David was not home.
It's kind of unfortunate that the one night they would choose to attack, the dad isn't home.
Right, yeah, because if they would have gone maybe the next day or the week after, maybe David would have been there, and maybe this story would have been different. So
yeah,
very unfortunate. Yep. So of course, with Kim and Jamie already in bed, the boys again decide to cut the power to the house. Now again, I don't really know where the power stuff was at, but must have been nearby. I don't know. So with the power being cut off, the boys shattered a window downstairs and removed a plastic side support from the air condition so that Steven, the ringleader, could gain access to the house. Once inside, he was able to open the front door to let all the other 3 men come in. Now you're also probably wondering, well, if somebody shattered our window, wouldn't you hear it? I mean, we don't really know if Kim and Jamie were heavy or light sleepers, so that we will never know.
Yeah.
With the power cut off, Steven was able to get the boys in, and they climbed their way up to Kimberly's room, but with the light cut off, they weren't able to see anything. So they found Jamie's iPad, and they were able to use that as a light source, which led them into Kimberly's room. So they are able to use the iPod and go into Kimberly's room, and this is where Kimberly, the mom, heard a sound. Oh, this just gives me the creeps, but Kimberly woke up to the sound coming from her room, and she was just like, what in the world is that? So she calls out to her daughter Jamie, who's sleeping right next to her, and she's like, Jamie, are you here? Is that you? And Jamie wakes up and she's like, yeah, Mom, I'm right here. So Kimberly's like, well, what was that? So she gets up from her bed and she tries to reach for the bedside lamp and tries to turn it on, but it doesn't work. but she doesn't know that the light has been cut off. So she's kind of like doing this and she's trying to turn it on and it doesn't. And what she notices is she just sees like a full body figure like standing right next to her. That just gave me chills, because can you imagine if somebody's standing right next to you in your bed? No. And then she turns and she sees that there's another man on the other side of the bed next to Jamie. Ooh, guys, come on now. That freaks me out. Within a matter of seconds, she wasn't even able to yell out for help, but within a matter of seconds, both guys unleashed brutal blows to Kimberly and her daughter Jamie. Now, what they used is they used a machete and they also used a knife. Now, if you guys can remember, Jamie, the daughter, has a black belt in karate.
So she can defend herself. Yeah,
she can definitely defend herself. And she actually did try to defend herself and her mother during this attack. But, I mean, two guys are literally like going at it on your body with a machete and a knife. Like, there's only so much that you can do. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. She took a massive blow to her body that kind of just disarmed her, and she wasn't able to use her black belt skills. And that must really suck for her too, because she's probably thinking like, man, I know exactly what to do in this situation, but I can't, because like I'm literally getting attacked from both sides. Like this, I'm helpless at this point.
Also, there's not much that karate can do against machetes.
I know. And then not only that, like, guys, imagine it. They're half asleep, they're in bed, and then somebody's just like hitting you, like, and you're just supposed to just spontaneously get up and start like Bruce Lee. No, it doesn't work like that. Reports claim that the screams from the two ladies turned into pleas, and then eventually they kept on saying, "You don't have to do this, please stop." But they did not stop, unfortunately. Towards the end of this brutal attack, Kimberly consoles her daughter Jamie and informs her everything is going to be okay. Unfortunately, though, that was not the case. Kimberly suffered a warning, guys. Kim suffered a slit to the throat, with her daughter being thrown across the room, shattering a glass door. Jamie then proceeds to play dead, which honestly helps her out in the end. Jamie suffers one more blow from the machete to her body. According to the medical examiner, Kimberly sustained 32 injuries to her body. And this is what the report said. Her skull was split open, her left eye socket was destroyed, several organs were pierced, and her bones were hacked into pieces.
Brutal,
oh man,
brutal scene.
I know. She lived through all these injuries, can you imagine that? But unfortunately passed away from massive blood loss. Jamie, the daughter, sustained 18 injuries to her body. So even with her black belt, I don't think she would have been able to do much. But this is what her report said. It said that every part of her body was struck. Her left foot took most of the damage. Her skull was also split open, and her jaw was shattered from the blows to the head. By playing dead, Jamie was able to crawl into the kitchen and call the police.
This is a crazy situation that's here. I mean, you're just at your own home. Somebody breaks in through your window and they start like just hitting you with a machete, and like there's nothing you can do, because why would you expect it in your own home?
Right.
And like they had no enemies, nothing like that. They were just randomly chosen, which is like the most disturbing aspect of this whole story, is like they were just chosen just because, and here they are fighting for their lives. And it's even crazier to me that Jamie, the daughter, ended up surviving after all of this.
Yeah, and that playing dead helped her. Like, yeah. I don't know.
You got to do what you got to do to survive.
Got to.
You know, playing dead is pretty smart, but the fact that she made it after getting hacked 18 times to her body, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's just a miracle, to be honest.
And like this whole thing is wild, but I think the part that creeps me out the most is being awakened and like somebody standing next to your bed.
Yeah.
Like for me,
the shock, that initial shock would probably make you like just freeze up. You wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do in that situation.
Right, because you're just thinking like, what's gonna happen?
Right. And you know it's going to be bad. There's no good reason somebody would break into your house and stand at the end of your bed.
Right. It's not that you're going to be like, hey, I made you a cake.
Yeah, no, it's going to be bad.
No.
So.
Like, that's the part for me when I was reading the story where I was like, oh my gosh. Because it could happen to anybody. Like, somebody legit can walk into your room even if it's locked, they could break into your house and just stand over
Board
you.
up your windows, guys.
Yeah. No, thank you. Absolutely not. But yes, so this all leads us up to chapter 3.
The capture.
Yay.
So the police arrive on the scene and they were having a hard time coming up with any evidence. And the police also noticed that aside from the random murder because the daughter survived. But the attacker stole a small amount of property from the Cates' home. They took one of David's wallets, they took a pearl necklace, 2 wooden jewelry boxes, and Christopher, one of the disciples of, what is it?
Disciples of Destruction.
Yeah. So Christopher would pawn these items later and receive around $130 only 7 hours after he committed the murders.
Such a rookie mistake. First of all, only $130 you get from that. But not only that, 7 hours after the murders, you're going to go pawn it. Like, come on now.
No.
Like, you're just looking to get caught at that point.
So the police discovered that there were tire tracks that were left on the dirt road that were leading up to the isolated house. So Jamie informed the police that they should be looking for a white man, and that's all that Jamie could remember, because you have to keep in mind that not only was she like half asleep, but it was also really dark when the attack happened.
Yeah, the lights were cut off.
Yeah. So the boys were thinking that they're like, hey, we got away. Like, we literally got away with it. We have no ties to them. This was just a random attack. How can they ever tie us to this? So Stephen and Christopher then proceed to meet up with their other friend, another gangster, Autumn Savoy, around 5:30 a.m. Side note here, both boys tried to recruit Stephen and Christopher. They tried to recruit Autumn to join them in the attack, but he said no.
Yep.
With the help of Autumn, I'm sorry, but Autumn is a girl's name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So with the help of Autumn, the boys decided to dispose of the evidence. They tossed the bloody clothes, the shoes, and other stolen items into the Nashua River. We all know, guys, that when you throw something in the river, it can just wash up on the shore later. So this was a pretty dumb mistake on their part.
Yeah, like, I don't know what they were thinking. They weren't thinking.
They're the disciples of what?
Destruction.
Disciples of what? So once the boys dispose of the evidence, they all go home and they call it a night. So they're like, job done. We got away with it. It's all good.
Yeah, we're done.
So around 5:30 p.m. the next day, Stephen and Christopher, the disciples of
Destruction,
meet up with a friend of theirs named Kyle Fenton.
Just say it,
Stephen
Kyle.
and Christopher are on a high from last night's killing, so they begin to tell their friend Kyle Fenton everything. Again, another mistake that they shouldn't have done, because lo and behold, guess who hears them? They're like, hey bro, you'll never believe this, but last night we committed a murder. Oh yeah, bro, we snuck into this lady's house and we killed her and we killed her daughter. Wait, side note, do they think they killed the daughter?
Yes.
Okay, so they think they killed them both. That's why, yeah.
Too.
So my bad. So they're like, oh, we committed 2 murders last night. Oh, it was the most thrilling, thing. Well, guess who was listening? Kyle's mom, Mrs. Fenton.
Mothers hear all. Let me tell you something. Mothers hear all, so don't even try to hide anything.
So at first, Kyle's mom thought that her son was involved So at first, Kyle's mom thought that her son was involved with the crime because it was being broadcasted all over the news. However, that didn't stop her from telling the police.
Go, mom.
We love Mrs. Fenton.
Yes, because even though she thinks that her son's involved with the crime, she's still like, I must do the greater good and I must report this.
Which is always good to know, because a lot of people would try to cover up for their kid regardless of what they did.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that if your kids do, you probably shouldn't cover up, aka killing somebody.
Yeah.
So, good for the mom on
for real,
reporting
because
what
that's
happened.
just what being a good parent is. Even when your child messes up. Exactly. Accountability.
So, yeah.
Which leads us to part 4, all because of mom. So go, mom. Chapter 4, Aftermath.
It all comes down to this, guys.
Over the next year, the residents of Mount Vernon learned that all 4 boys committed these savage attacks just because they could. So you guys have to remember that Mount Vernon is a super safe town where people go to retire or just raise families and go to really safe schools. So nobody is thinking that these savage vicious attacks are going to happen. So when it does, and when they find out that all 4 boys committed these just because, it was random and they thought they could, like the whole city was shooken up. It was like, oh my gosh, like if this could happen to the Cates, it could happen to us. So the reason why the boys committed these crimes is because they thought truly that they could get away with murder. Doesn't everybody? Like, literally, it's like they don't even read a history book because every single serial killer out there has thought the same thing and they still got caught. During Stephen Spader's trial, if y'all can remember the ringleader, well, anyways, one of his besties, Quinn, testified at his trial stating Stephen wanted to break into people's houses, steal stuff, kill people, stay the night, and make scenes for the press with their bodies. He talked about eating people, roasting people, and putting heads on stakes.
Sounds like a crazy guy.
It's wild.
Steven needs to chill.
He needs to like relax.
Eating people? Hannibal Lecter?
Right, like what is this? Well, I mean, we also have to picture that he was like really like invested in the Zodiac Killer and Charles Manson and the Manson family.
Did they also eat people?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really know what that...
Okay. Yeah, so he was like into that kind of dark stuff.
Yeah, he's into that dark stuff, but he should just be like a normal teenager and just like watch movies and play video games.
Right.
But I guess apparently he wanted to roast people and put their heads on stakes.
Well, I mean, we all have our pastimes.
Yep, of course. In October 2010, on Stephen's 19th birthday, he was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to murder, conspiracy to burglary, and witness tampering. Whoa, what a rap sheet.
Well, he deserves it.
He does. He deserves all that and much more. Stephen was sentenced to life without parole with an additional 76 years for attempted murder on Jamie Cates because, again, he thought he had killed Jamie Cates along with Kimberly, but she survived.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, so glad that Jamie survived, honestly, even though it does come with a lot of trauma, but I'm glad that she's here to be able to, like, just share her story.
Yeah.
In early December 2010, Christopher Gribble pleaded not guilty and instead pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. I mean...
They always try to pull that one. Oh, I'm crazy. I need to see a psychiatrist. I don't need to go to jail.
I wasn't in the right state of mind. It wasn't me. It was...
I feel sorry for me.
It was Sebastian, the other guy. Like, they always try to do that.
Yeah.
But he did, however, admit to the crimes. He just basically was saying that he wasn't in the right state of mind. Thank God the judge denied that plea and instead imposed a mandatory sentence of life without parole. Yes. Hallelujah. Quinn Glover, if y'all can remember, another guy from the Disciples of Destruction, arranged a plea deal in which he would plead guilty to burglary, robbery, and conspiracy to commit robbery. Conspiracy to commit burglary.
I didn't even know that was a charge. Conspiracy to commit burglary?
Yeah.
Well.
Maybe because not a lot of people...
What is conspiracy to commit burglary?
Basically, it's like, I'm gonna rob you.
But I'm gonna think about it, and that makes you go to jail?
No, like, I'm already, like, planning it. I have my list already ready. But I don't get to rob you because somebody snitches on me saying, like, oh, Ashley was gonna rob Diego's house. So then they arrest me, and it's like, oh, well, you had a whole plan on, like, how to rob this guy of, like, all his goodies.
Oh, I see.
So that's basically what it is. It's like conspiracy to commit murder.
Oh, okay.
Like, you think about it, you have a plan, but you don't actually end up doing it because... Something happens. Exactly. It's the same thing, but burglary.
Okay.
But I feel like not a lot of people get arrested on that, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least not the shows that I watch. So Quinn was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in the hopes that he would see daylight. And he actually does. In 2017, Quinn was granted parole and he will be eligible for full parole in 2029, which is not far from now.
That's true.
It's kind of crazy. Time flies, exactly. Considering that this happened in 2009, so it's wild. William Marker, if you can remember from the Disciples of Destruction, pleaded guilty to accomplice to first-degree murder in exchange for 30 to 60 years. William will be eligible for parole in 2024, which is actually
Next year.
Yep, it's
Time
next
flies.
year. Time flies. Now, if you guys can also remember...
Oh, the boy, Autumn.
Autumn initially provided an alibi to investigators, telling them that Stephen and Christopher, because remember, they hung out at 5:30 in the morning. He basically said that those two boys spent the night at his house the night of the murders. I don't know what was going on through my boy Adam's mind, but he just decided to lie for them and be like, what are you talking about? He didn't commit these murders. They were at my house. Rookie mistake. He ended up pleading guilty to conspiracy and hindering apprehension. He was sentenced to 5 to 12 years. And in 2015, Autumn was released on parole. So Autumn's walking free, man. Even though, I don't know.
So what happened to the daughter, Jamie? What ended up happening to her?
So Jamie, good thing that you bring that up. Jamie actually, unfortunately, did lose a part of her foot in the attack. But, you know, since then, she's been able to adjust to a new life. She finished high school and she even attended college. And
good for her. Good for her.
I'm really glad.
That's good to hear, man.
Right, because it's glad to see that she didn't just spiral downhill, even though she could have. She had every right to, but she decided to do something good for herself and for her life. And her father, David, do try to stay out of public eye and focus on raising money for a scholarship in honor of their mother, Kimberly Cates.
And that is the story for today, guys.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts for me is, I mean, I already lock all my doors, make sure all the windows are locked. And
I've never understood that whole premise of like, oh, this town, oh, I leave my door unlocked. It's like, dude, lock your doors. I do not care. But no, after hearing today's story, it's really chilling to know that for no reason, somebody died just because these kids, the disciples of whatever, decided to be like an absolute nuisance and kill somebody just for no reason, and they chose somebody randomly, and because of that somebody's dead and somebody else lost a piece of her foot and lost her mother, and David lost his wife. So just because these kids decided to do something dumb and not even think about the repercussions of it, it's really frightening to think that somebody could just break into your house and kill you, and just for no reason. Yeah, and like I do everything that I possibly can to make sure that my house is safe at all times, but you just never know, guys. People could easily break into your break your window or bust down the door, and you just have to be safe at all times. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure these people, like, why would they expect anything of it? You know, why would they expect anything bad to happen to them? Well, they were just chosen, and it's really sad. And if I could leave you guys with anything, just make sure you always have a plan. And at least for me, I try to wake up in the middle of the night and just kind of do like a walk around check just to make sure everything is peachy key. But also, even if you guys live in a really like safe, quiet neighborhood, you just never know. I mean, people from Mount Vernon thought the same thing, and unfortunately Kimberly lost her life because of that. So just be cautious, guys. Our thoughts, of course, with the Cates family and what they went through, and really sorry for their loss and stuff. And yeah, that's tonight's story. Thank you guys for watching today's story, listening into this tragic case that we went over. And if you guys are interested in these types of videos, we're gonna make one every single Wednesday. Next week we have our episode 5, and it's gonna be a special. Not gonna give anything away on it, but it's gonna be something that's really close to our past. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so we hope to see you guys next week, and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you guys later. Happy 4th of July.